Today here we are with Ms. Rachel Hodgdon, and she is the President and CEO of IWBI. It's an honor to meet you in person.
Thank you.
I see the seal at Bloomberg Tower. Every day I enter in there. Today I'm here with ESG News, but I just want to tell you how proud I am to see that seal more and more in the city, in New York. Talking about this and the platform that we are here in today for, do you see yourself reaching the goals?
Yes. I mean, I think this is a landmark day for us because I think we're finally starting to see this dialogue around the imperative for putting the H in ESG really step into the mainstream. But just like you, it makes me very proud every time I see one of those WELL plaques on a building, whether a building has been WELL certified or WELL health safety rated. We feel so thrilled that when people walk into their workplaces, they know that their health is being put first and that their employers have prioritized their well-being. And in fact, I was a couple months into the pandemic, I was walking down the street with our COO's daughter. She's 5 years old, and she stopped in the middle of the street and she said, "Look, Rachel, a WELL health safety seal." And in that moment, it kind of all like hit me, you know, the enormity of this work, and to have organizations like Bloomberg pursuing this roadmap for health and well-being that we've worked so hard to create, following the evidence-based strategies, is the ultimate endorsement and a major source of pride.
So I love that you said that. Do we need more corporate leaders like Bloomberg, like other huge multinational companies, to be able to put both the H factor and the I, the investment factor, in it?
Yes, and interestingly enough, I would say that financial institutions are unarguably leading the way on this. You'll see a WELL health safety seal on every Citibank, on every JP Morgan Chase. I think that if you're really watching the linkage between human health and a business's bottom line, it makes it such an easy choice to make. And so I think that investors have had their eye on those non-financial material factors for quite some time. The rest of us, after 2+ years of a global pandemic, are really waking up to the fact that a business's number one asset is its people, and the way that a business values its people has had everything to do with whether a business has simply survived or whether a business has thrived during this chapter.
I love how you put it. In addition to, well, relevant to the H factor, I want to talk about the feminine factor. You're a female leader of an amazing organization. Do you see more female leaders leading and gathering in this platform?
I do. Not only am I a female CEO, but within my organization, the executive team is majority female, and the composition of our entire organization is majority female. I think that there is something to be said for women being drawn to lead on topics of health and well-being, on topics of the environment and sustainability. We've always seen those fields disproportionately led by women as compared to other sectors or other topics. But what I see that's even more encouraging, and many of the women who are here to speak with us today embody this, is women helping other women. Women really believing that it's our collective responsibility to lift one another up, that there's enough room at the table for both of us, and that we've got to be the sponsors of one another's success in order to see true equity in the workplace, and perhaps even more importantly in the C-suite.
You said it very well. In terms of the collective conversations to turn into collective action, what can be done more together with ESG, with IWBI at the Humanity 2.0 platform?
Well, the reason why we created the 12 competencies for measuring health and well-being for human and social capital was to really guide those collective actions, to break it down and make it more simple. What we hear from a lot of organizations when it comes to measuring and reporting on the H is that it's hard to measure. You know, you think about how straightforward it is to measure tons of GHG emissions versus how foreboding or intimidating it might feel to measure something as potentially amorphous as health and well-being. And yet, what you'll find within that document is that many of the metrics that we're citing as things that can be reported on as proxies for health and well-being are actually metrics that a business is already tracking. Things like ambient environmental quality or retention and recruitment, employee engagement. These are all generally things that a C-suite has access to, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they're using it to really understand whether their people-first strategies are being impactful and making linkages between the performance around some of those elements and things like their performance within the Great Resignation.
I love that. And in terms of today's event, we are at NASDAQ Marketsite. What is the message that you want to give both to the younger generation to be involved in and also for the young leaders to be engaged and actively involved in it?
Well, I think that we're seeing the birth of a new generation of leadership and a new rule set for how we define leadership. It's about so much more than making a profit. You know, good business, big business is about changing the world. And what we're seeing is the rise in organizations that straddle purpose with profit, that can demonstrate higher returns year over year, but also higher returns on their people, higher rates of retention, increased engagement of their employees, and generally organizations that believe that they can do well by doing good.
Thank you. Personally and professionally, I want to thank you. On behalf of ESG News, please keep up the great work.
Thank you.